Howdy, folks. I'm wandering White Rock Rose, wistfully wishing for warm wetlands.
I'm Amber.
And here are more warm wetlands for us to wistfully wish for. Do the White Rock Roses live in wetlands, Amber?
I don't know. They just seem like they kind of grow anywhere.
Oh, well, there you have it, folks. Now you know. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Leaving My Fiancé at the Altar After Discovering Her Affair with My Brother and Her Best Friend? I'm a 29-year-old male, and I have been with my fiancée, Emily, a 28-year-old female, for 5 years. We got engaged a year ago, and our wedding was supposed to be a fairy tale. Everything seemed perfect until last week. I was preparing for the wedding when I noticed that Emily was acting strangely. She was secretive with her phone and had sudden, unexplained disappearances. I chalked it up to stress until I received an anonymous message with photos and screenshots revealing that Emily was having an affair with not just one person, but two. My brother, Mark, a 31-year-old male, and her best friend, Sarah, a 28-year-old female. I was devastated. I confronted Mark, who admitted everything and said it started as a mistake, but evolved into something more. Sarah, on the other hand, denied it at first, but then broke down and confessed, saying that she and Emily had always been closer than I realized. I didn't know what to do. Calling off the wedding seemed dramatic, but marrying someone who betrayed me with two people that I trusted felt impossible. I decided to go through the wedding to gather my thoughts, but as I stood at the altar watching Emily walk down the aisle, all I could think about was the betrayal. When she reached me, I couldn't go through with it. I took a deep breath and I told everyone what I had discovered. Emily burst into tears, Mark looked horrified, and Sarah ran out. My parents were furious, and the guests were in shock. Now, both families are divided. My parents are supporting me, but Emily's parents are calling me cruel for humiliating her publicly. Friends are split, with some saying I did the right thing and others saying that I should have handled it privately. Emily has been texting me and calling nonstop, begging for forgiveness, saying that she made a mistake, and she wants to fix things. Mark has disappeared, and Sarah is posting cryptic messages on social media about betrayal and forgiveness. I am heartbroken and confused. Am I the jerk for exposing Emily and leaving her at the altar, or should I have just handled this differently? Alright, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I'm going to say not the jerk. She chose to cheat on OP with two different people, and it's just such a cruel thing to do. And, the people who are saying that he should have handled this privately, so she could come up with her own narrative, people were going to want to know why the wedding was off.
Yeah, I mean, certainly think that OP could have made an announcement and said that the wedding was off and whatnot, but I also think that OP was trying to collect themselves, and maybe they thought that they could actually go through with the wedding, but then it turns out that no, they couldn't go through with the wedding. So I certainly understand why they would feel that way. I can also understand why people would think that OP should have handled this privately, because it almost comes across as retribution. While I don't think that was OP's intention, it could come across as he did this purposely to hurt them. Maybe they deserve to be hurt.
Well,
I don't know, what some people have to say. I mean, I think a lot of people would be like, well, maybe they deserve to be called out publicly for doing this.
I mean, that's my take. It doesn't sound like that was OP's intention, but even if it had been, I don't know that he would be in the wrong for calling them out publicly.
Yeah.
And that way, it's very clear to everyone what happened instead of, her and her affair partners trying to spin their own narratives or anything like that.
Yeah, and it does put OP in a very difficult situation, because suppose OP did do it privately and then Emily makes up a big story about OP being unfair or blah, blah, blah. I would hope that she wouldn't do that. But I don't know. We'll put that issue aside for a moment, because I think there's still more to unpack with this one, especially with the whole Emily calling and asking for forgiveness at this point in time.
Yeah.
What do you think about all that?
I mean, I think he just needs to leave Emily in the past. She was able to maintain an affair with her best friend for the entirety of their relationship, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with the idea of going forward with someone who has cheated on you in general, but this wasn't even a one-time slip-up, I was drunk type of situation, which I'm not saying would be an excuse, but maybe some people can write that off. This was a prolonged, ongoing thing.
Well, the problem I have is, why is Emily even interested in this relationship at this point in time? I don't understand, like, what, I mean, maybe OP is loaded, or maybe OP is, has something that she feels, fulfills a part of her life. Maybe she has different views on relationships where she wants to be in a more open relationship and doesn't necessarily want to have a monogamous relationship. But if that's the case, she really needs to make those kinds of things upfront and apparent to whoever her partner is.
Right, with ethical non-monogamy, you have to be upfront with your partner, from the get-go. You can't just be like having affairs and like, oh, I'm secretly non-monogamous.
Yeah, and I think that's really where everything kind of falls apart here, is that Emily made some choices. She didn't talk about things beforehand to OP and say, look, I have my friend Sarah here, but we're a little bit more than friends, but that's just between me and her. I kind of have to be in a openish relationship, and as long as you're fine with that, blah blah blah, right? And then OP could have, known about it and consented to it, right? But I feel bad for OP here.
I do too, and I don't think like what are the odds that Emily is going to cut off Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
And like, how would he ever trust her again if she's still maintaining a relationship with Sarah? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe she won't see his brother anymore, but like,
Yeah.
with since Sarah is also her best friend, oh, I can't cut my best friend out of my life.
Well, and at the end of the day, OP needs to do what's best for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, I think that this really holds an important lesson that it's never too late to walk away from a bad relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And OP made the right decision because, at the end of the day, they felt like they couldn't comfortably or in good nature go into this relationship and start a marriage off be in the way that it started off. So I think that OP was wise to recognize that, and maybe it caused some discomfort and some issues, but is going to be worth it in the long run because OP now can be free of a bad relationship and move on and find a better relationship for them.
Well, and as complicated as it can be to end a long-term relationship, it's much easier to do that before you have the marriage certificate in place.
Exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Monica Official says, not the jerk. While some people might argue that you could have handled it privately, the magnitude of betrayal and the fact that it involved your brother and her best friend make it understandable why you felt the need to expose it publicly. It was a way to protect yourself and avoid being further manipulated or gaslighted. And OP replies, yeah, all I wanted was to be safe from any victim blaming. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Exposing My Boyfriend and Stepsister's Affair and Pregnancy? That's right folks, another cheating one. Hey everyone, I'm really struggling with this situation and I need some perspective. Here's the story. I'm a 23-year-old female and I've been dating my boyfriend Jake, a 25-year-old male, for 3 years. We were really happy, or so I thought. We even talked about moving in together and starting a family someday. I thought that he was the one. About 6 months ago, my mom remarried, and I got a new stepsister, Laura, a 21-year-old female. Laura and I didn't grow up together, but we tried to bond and build a relationship. She's fun and outgoing, so we started hanging out more, and she became part of my friend circle, which included Jake. Everything seemed fine until a few weeks ago, I noticed that Jake was acting strangely. He was more secretive with his phone and started coming up with excuses on why he couldn't hang out as much. I chalked it up to stress from work at first. Then, last week, I was at my mom's house for a family dinner. Laura wasn't feeling well and ended up leaving the table to lie down. My mom asked me to check on her, so I went to her room. That's when I saw Jake's jacket on her chair. My heart sank, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Later that night, I confronted Jake. After a lot of deflecting and denial, he finally admitted that he had been seeing Laura behind my back for the past 2 months. He begged for forgiveness and claimed it was just a mistake. But that wasn't the worst part. Laura came over the next day looking distraught. She confessed that she's pregnant and that Jake is the father. She said that she didn't mean for this to happen and that she was sorry. I was devastated and furious. I told both of them that they betrayed me in the worst possible way. My mom is heartbroken too, torn between her daughter and her stepdaughter. Here's where I might be the jerk. In my anger, I exposed everyone and everything on social media. I posted about their affair and pregnancy, tagging them both. The fallout has been massive. My friends and family are in shock, and Jake and Laura are being shunned and harassed online. They begged me to take the post down, saying that I've ruined their lives. My mom thinks that I went too far and should have handled it privately. So am I the jerk for exposing their affair and pregnancy publicly? I feel like they deserve to be called out for their betrayal, but now I'm second guessing my actions. I just don't know what to do. Thanks for reading and for any advice you can give. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, they do deserve to be called out publicly. But also, this feels like one of those situations where it's only a matter of time. Like, how are they going to explain her getting pregnant by Jake while he was in a relationship with OP?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was necessary to put the Facebook post up there or not. I think that that's something that everyone's going to have their own opinion on about whether it went too far or not. I think some people will probably say it went too far. I think some people will say that maybe it didn't go far enough. I think that you just kind of have to decide at a certain point whether or not it's worth the additional drama in your life to expose someone instead of just cutting them out of your life. So, I don't know. How do you think calling this affair out publicly differs from the last story?
I mean, this one's a little bit more subtle, You're not standing, in the wedding venue, church or whatever, in front of an entire audience of people.
Yeah.
But I think they both handled it fine. Like, I don't think there was anything wrong with how they tackled either situation.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that the way this one kind of differs is that the online thing is kind of like a permanent, like, record almost type of thing. Whereas if you're standing in front of a chapel and you tell everyone, I mean, it's happening and then it's over type of thing. Not that their fallout doesn't continue afterwards, but there isn't like the exposure to the people that is ongoing.
Okay, but on the same hand, like, what do you want to bet that everyone just stayed silent and didn't post any of that on social media?
Oh, I mean, I think that you're probably right there. I think probably people did post stuff online or on social media and, kind of talking about the whole drama of that situation. I mean, I think that the best revenge is a life well lived. And I don't know if you would classify this as revenge or just informing people about why the relationship ended or any of those kinds of things. I don't have a good answer. Let me put it that way. I think that again, is something that every person's going to have to decide on their own. But let me know what you folks think, though. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Amber's like, burn it to the ground.
I mean, that is my opinion. They cheated. They deserved it.
Well, I'm not saying that it isn't deserved. I mean, I think that they brought it upon themselves. I'm not saying that. And Comprehensive Value says a 2-month affair and a pregnancy don't count as a mistake. And Nick4424 says, if I had $1 every time that happened to me.
Whoops.
And Whitechapel 726 says, just a simple whoopsies. And Pretty Princess 22 says, no, you're not the jerk. Their betrayal was massive, and the pain and anger you were feeling is understandable. While exposing them publicly might have been extreme, it's not uncommon for people to react strongly in such situations. It's up to you whether you want to take down the post, but don't let them guilt you into doing it if you're not ready. And Armored Chemist 611 says, in fairness, at least you set the story straight before any of those two did. Because if it's Jake and Laura telling the story, they might spin it to you being the villain and harassing them, etc. This also ensures that they can't be the first ones to twist the truth. But the mom should be ashamed of herself. Why did she side with the stepkid she only knows for 6 months over you, her daughter who was betrayed in the first place? I hope that you have better family support than your mom and stepdad, because for sure they will side with Laura because she has a grandkid that she's going to give birth to. I mean, I think that putting the narrative out there is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, and that's kind of my feeling in this case as well as the first one, is that whoever controls the narrative, really dictates how things proceed going forward. And the last thing you need is to be turned into the villain. Oh, I tried to break up with OP, but she just wouldn't let me, or something like that.
Yeah. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Telling a Friend Stop Watching So Much Adult Entertainment? I am a 19-year-old female, and I have a twin brother who I'm very close to. We'll call him Jay. We hang out a lot, and I consider him to be one of my best friends. We became a lot closer during high school when we found out that we were both bisexual. Making friends doesn't come easy to me, and I really only have 2 close friends. 3 if you count my best friend's childhood friend that hangs out with us sometimes. My twin is very social and has a bigger group of friends that he hangs out with all the time, since most of them go to the same college. Well, last week when we were hanging out, some of our mutual friends from high school, one of them made a comment about my shirt, saying it looked like the one that my brother had in high school. I told her that it was the same shirt, and then she kind of gave me a weird look. I brushed it off because I didn't think she meant anything by it. My brother and I sometimes share clothes because we have similar enough style and are about the same height and build. For us, it just means that we have more clothing options. Well, yesterday I ran into that same friend after one of my classes and we stopped to talk. My brother called me in the middle of our conversation to ask me if I wanted some food since he was ordering anyways, and before I hung up, I said, "Bye, I love you." And he said it back, and my friend just gave me a strange look. She didn't say anything at first, but then when I asked her what was wrong, she said that it was just strange that I said "I love you" to my brother. I laughed it off and asked her if she didn't say that to her siblings, and she said no, because that's weird. I didn't know what to say, and I just left it there, and I told her that I needed to go so I could meet Jay at home before he left for his friend's house since they were planning on hanging out. She then started talking about how weird our relationship was and how it wasn't normal for siblings to share clothes or to say "I love you" or hug or hang out so much and do any of the things that we do. And how high school was weird since we were always together and we were always talking to each other. She also brought up a comment that I made in high school in response to a question about what I would do if my twin died. I said that I didn't think I could live without him because he was part of me. This question was asked to another set of twins we were friends with, and we both had the same answer. This whole time that this was going on, I just stared at her because I really couldn't believe what I was hearing. Eventually, she stopped, and I just blurted out, "You should really stop watching so much adult entertainment." She was really embarrassed and just went off on me for saying that. I just left, and then I went home. I told Jay what happened, and he just laughed at me, while I felt like I was dying inside because I couldn't believe I said that. I asked my friends what they thought, and they laughed at me, and they told me that I'm not a jerk, but I still feel like I am. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. It sounds like Opie and her brother have a perfectly normal sibling relationship, and it's really sad that we are so weird about close sibling relationships. Like, if they were sisters, no one would bat an eye if they were sharing clothes and hugging each other.
Yeah.
And, like, I really hate the way that our society sexualizes opposite gender sibling relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's healthy, that these relationships are being sexualized, that is. I think that OP and their brother love each other. They love each other in the way that siblings do. And it's not like they are sleeping together or, doing other things here, right? I mean, I think at that point in time, that's where kind of the line gets drawn here. We're not talking about flowers in the attic or any of those kinds of things here, right? Like, this is seemingly a healthy relationship, and saying "I love you" to your sibling does not mean that you are in love with your sibling, right?
Right. Well, and it's just really sad that she thinks that saying "I love you" to a family member is like not an okay thing to do. And like different families have their different ways of expressing things. Me and my family, we don't do a lot of the "I love yous" and stuff like that. But it doesn't make it wrong or bad to do that.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did the clockmaker do on her vacation?
Well, I would imagine that the clockmaker ticked away their time.
She learned how to unwind.
Oh, that one's not bad. That one's actually probably the best of the new series that we've had so far. And I have Earl Grey. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, spectacular Saturday, folks. I can't believe we made it to the end of the week. Wow. Congratulations. It's Saturday. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships may look different for every set of people, but generally they should not involve gross betrayals of your trust.
I think that works out well. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!